Welcome to the Straight Outta WAC Pigskin podcast. My name is Dustin Helton. I am joined by a very special guest for this podcast. He is the captain of the SFA athletics ship. That is Mr. Ryan Ivey, joining us from Nacogdoches, Texas. Ryan, thank you for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Dustin. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We do 2 of these shows a week, and we wanted to take one of the opportunities to talk to folks around the WAC because, it is a new football conference this year, and we wanted to get perspectives from different ADs or maybe some other guests and see, just how things are going, how they're liking the WAC, things like that. So you joined SFA back in 2018. I think it was July of 2018. So It's been 3 years now. And I will say as an alumni, we've seen a huge paradigm shift within SFA athletics. So I'd like to hear your take on how the past 3 years have been for you and what you've seen us do.
Yeah, no, it's had its ups and downs, its highs and lows. We've certainly, I think, made some progress with our goal. Again, when I walked in the door and I had conversations with staff and in external groups, we came up with the idea and the vision that we wanted to be the leading mid-major athletics department in the nation. And so when you make a bold vision like that, you've got to figure out, all right, how do we get there now? Because you don't just say it and then automatically you become it, right? And so it creates this opportunity for culture change. It creates this opportunity to create differences for those that are around and those that really within the athletics department and certainly our external groups as well. And so, for us, it was about, all right, how are we going to challenge ourselves? And one of the things that attracted me the most to SFA was the past history of success that it had. And if you think about what just across the board, right? If you look at basketball, obviously, women's basketball, what Debbie has done with volleyball, what Nicole's been doing with softball. I mean, they're just across the board, we have been pretty successful. And so when you come in and say, all right, we want to be something different, that takes some time and that takes some energy and that takes some opportunity to really grow it moving forward. And so I think we were able to set that vision and then try to grow it across the board with what we were doing. And I think people really bought into that, especially internally within our department. And so we were able to grow that. And so then again, along the way, we've hit some really high marks. Last year we were Southland Conference Commissioners Cup winners. We won the Women's All Sports Trophy for the 7th time in a row. Then we've hit some low water marks, obviously, with what we had to mess with the NCAA and some of those things moving, in the past. And so, but I think right now, more than anything, I'm really excited about where we are because I think we've come out of all that. I think we're better for it. I think we're moving forward with our vision, and I think we're taking strides. And certainly football helps us do that. When football's better, then it makes everything else better. I've been on record multiple times saying the athletics department is the front porch of the institution, but I firmly believe when you have a football program, football is the front step of the front porch. It's what people see when they come there the most. It's the first thing they see when school starts. And so having a successful football program certainly helps us to do that.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would say, too, with bringing in Colby Carthel into coach, I mean, every year we've seen improvement, right? I know 2020 fall year we had to play a lot of D2 schools, but we still had a winning record, and we still had wins over Abilene Christian in Eastern Kentucky, which was great. I know we're coming off the Battle of Piney Woods this past weekend, which didn't end how the SFA fans wanted it to end, heartbreaking loss 21-20. But I'd like to hear your perspective on just how much the program has improved in the past couple of years, but then 2, how the Piney Woods, if you felt maybe the Piney Wood environment was better this year than in previous years because of how well, Coach Carthel is running the team at this point and where we are.
Yeah, no, I mean, when we set out to hire a football coach in December of 2018, we needed someone that could come in and create culture change and create an opportunity for us to grow our program in multiple ways. And, Colby, from the very beginning, I mean, he again, for all his craziness that he is, and he creates an air of confidence around people, right? And that's one thing we haven't had in our program, I don't think, in a while. We just haven't been confident in who we are. And he came in from the very beginning and started talking about national championships and started talking about the playoffs and being there consistently and what that looks like. And so it was about creating that base level of expectation And then, all right, now we got to go to work to achieve that expectation. And I think you've seen that with our football program. I mean, again, his first year, we were hit with the NCAA issues that we had to manage, and we lost some guys right before the first game of the season. And so we got through that, had 3 wins. But at the end of the year, we won 2 of our last 3. I felt like we were really starting to turn the corner there in that first year. And then COVID hit after that. Then we elected to play in the fall last year, which, again, for us was the right thing to do because we weren't eligible for the playoffs, and we needed an opportunity for us to learn and grow and, again, learn how to win, because really good programs, consistent programs, know how to win. They beat teams that they're supposed to beat when they're supposed to beat them, and they sneak up on teams that maybe they're not supposed to beat, and they figure out ways to win games that maybe they're not supposed to win. And we had to figure out how to do that. And you look at 2020, I mean, again, we played 4 FBS teams. 2 of those games I really thought we were right in the ball game with, and really 3 with Memphis, because they're in the third quarter. We're still in the game against Memphis. SMU got away from us pretty early, but we're right there in those games. And then we beat the teams that we were supposed to beat in 2020. And that was important for us. That was important for our growth. That was important for our program and our guys. And then we had a full off season. And I think that was a thing for us that we talked about the most, was having a full-fledged off season in the spring of 21 going into the fall here that we're in now. And I think you've seen the maturity in our team that's grown. I think you've seen physically we are bigger, we are stronger than really what we've been in the past. And I think that offseason had a lot to do with it. And so, again, when you look at Saturday's game against Sam Houston, they've got 25 fifth-year super seniors, if you will. They've got a bunch of guys back coming off a national championship team. And I had the opportunity to serve on the FCS committee last spring, and I was there for several of those games and got to watch them firsthand and see them operate, how they operated, and knew that was going to be the barometer for us moving forward. And so I really thought Saturday, I thought our team played exceptionally well. I thought we did the things we needed to do to win the game. We beat them just about in every statistical category that we needed to. We just didn't beat them on the scoreboard. And, and that's where I think they've got this maturity and growth, because when you look at some of the games that they had to come back with in the playoffs, in the spring, they just constantly kept coming back, right? They never panicked. They never figured that out. And I watched them through the spring, and that's what I saw Saturday again with them. They didn't panic, and they knew that they'd been in those situations before, and they knew they could figure it out. And they did. They found a way to win. And ultimately, we've got to be that team now moving forward. And so for us, it's about how really we respond this week and go into a tough Jacksonville State team. And it'll be a tough place to play, a tough environment. It's their homecoming. And so how do we respond? And this is where I've said all along that good teams, great teams know how to respond to adversity. And so how do you manage that? How do you manage that situation where you've been punched in the gut? And are you willing to get back up? And are you willing to get off the mat? Or are you willing to go back at it? Because there's still a lot of football for us left to play, and it's really going to depend upon how our guys now respond moving forward.
So from an environment perspective, it was cool to go in, and I know the Texans were on a road game, so it's a lot easier to do the field, but it was really cool to go in and see the logo at midfield and then the WAC logos, on the turf. How did you think the environment for Battle of Piney was compared to 2019? Because, there's always these discussions amongst folks that some folks like having it in Houston. Some folks want to bring it back to campus sites because they think the intensity would be there coming from the fans. I'm kind of on both sides of that, right? I could see either way. So, so what do you think in terms of having it in Houston and the environment there versus potentially having it go back to sites?
Yeah, I thought the environment Saturday was good, and I thought in a large part because it was a really good football game, right? And I think it's that in itself is a testament to 2 good football teams that are playing each other exceptionally well. From an SFA perspective, I thought our crowd was better. It's certainly not where I think it should be, and really where it is that we want it to be. I think the weather played a little factor in that over the weekend, just with the rain and everything coming in. So, but tickets sold, attendance, was just over 25,000. from my understanding, I haven't seen the final reconciliation of the ticket reports, but my understanding, we were about 38% of that, almost approaching 40%. So I don't think we were just vastly outnumbered like people think we are all the time. Now, there's no question. I think they had more. I think they got loud when they needed to. But I think our fans did as well, right? And I think that's a fun environment to be in. It's a fun place for our student athletes to play. They get to play in an NFL stadium. I can't imagine if there's 50,000 people in that place is that loud. Like I couldn't hear, towards the end of the game. It's just like, holy cow, this is real and this is fun. So I think all those things really come into it. And I think for us to be able to be in the third largest city in the country and what that looks like and be able to really display our brand right there, I think is important. So I think all those things are good for us. I think the negative about it is just we're taking away this game from campus. And, I've had several people reach out to me and say, well, if we were on campus, we would have won. Well, I don't know that we would have. I don't know that we wouldn't have either, right? But I do know that it takes away an opportunity for us every other year to have that game in Nacogdoches. And so the question that we have to keep asking ourselves, and I think the same way with Sam Houston and with LSSE, is what's the best opportunity for all of us moving forward? And how do we best position this game to help maximize the opportunities for both teams, to help us maximize revenues, but also to create uniqueness for our fans so that they want to come be a part of it, right? And I don't know the answer to that, right? I don't know. I've got some thoughts and things, and I think right now we're guessing at some of this just because of historical precedents of what we had over the last 10 years. Again, and I take responsibility for it. I mean, the bottom line is we've lost 10 in a row now, right? And so at some point in time, our fans just keep thinking, I'm just not coming. I don't want to come. Why would I want to come? And I think we have to do our part to legitimize the rivalry that it is. And I think we took a big step forward with that on Saturday, but we still didn't get it done. And so I think this comes back to, all right, now how do we respond the rest of the year? And if we respond the rest of the year like I think we can, then now back there next year, I think it's a different story and it's a different conversation.
Yeah, and if we respond, or we this year respond, I mean, we could easily get an at-large bid, right? If we were able to win out the rest of and that'd be awesome to have playoff football for SFA again, because I was there at the last playoff game we had at home because I think in 2014 we went on the road. In 2010 we had Villanova, and that was such a huge crowd. Right, it was awesome to be at. So like we said, with this year coming into the WAC, being part of bringing back a WAC football, just how has that been for you as an AD, and how much do you think it's benefited the school moving conferences and leaving the Southland where we've been for a few years, and then heading to basically a startup that's not a startup, but they are.
Yeah, no, I think it's been great. I mean, like anything else, our plan was to go in 22. And so, obviously our friends at the Southland didn't think we should be in there that long. So they asked us to leave, which is fine. It's their prerogative. And it is what it is. You see a little bit now of what this divorce could look like with Texas and Oklahoma now at the Big 12, right? So, I mean, at some point in time, it is what it is, and it's just time to go. And so we had to speed up some of our scheduling situations and some of those things. It's a little clunky for us, I think, here in the beginning, but I think it's going to be great. And I think it's already created opportunities for additional exposure and awareness that we just didn't have beforehand. And we're going to get the opportunity to be in 5 of the top 30 DMAs in the country, right? And we talk about athletics being the front porch of the institution. Being in those 5 DMAs creates opportunity for us to increase our exposure and awareness and our brand and what we're doing, and creating opportunities for others to know who Stephen F. Austin is and what we're doing from an institutional perspective standpoint. And so that to me is one of the biggest highlights I think that we have moving into the WAC. And so I think creating new rivalries, but at the same time having to take or being able to take three other Texas institutions with us, having Tarleton and RGV already in it is a big part of that. I mean, 6 of the 13 institutions are in the state of Texas, so we still have that Texas flair to it. And I think, and don't quote me here, you might check my math where it's all said and done with, but I think it's at the end of the day, the WAC now has more teams in the state of Texas than any other league. And so you might check my math with Conference USA, but
I think you're right. I'm counting that.
Yeah, but with 6 teams in the state of Texas, we have more than any other league in the country, which is, I think, pretty important and pretty special when you look at what the state of Texas is and how important it is for college athletics as a whole. And so I think those things, again, with what we've talked about beforehand, was really, really important to us moving forward. Obviously, the opportunity for us to bring football back to the WAC was really important, I think really special. When you think about the WAC from a football league, yeah, it was an FBS league, but I mean, our kids now get the opportunity to be in the record books with Todd Detmer and these legends of the Timmy Chang and these legends of the game, right? That had Heisman winners and those things, and those are things that are really special to us, and that's really important for our student athletes. And I think it's really important for us to sell and recruiting. And then it gives us the opportunity to figure out, all right, how do we grow our program? And how do we band with each other, and how do we create opportunities across the league now so that we can be there with philosophical, like-minded institutions and departments to help grow what we're doing and to challenge one another moving forward? Because we've found out real quick, I mean, we're not the bell cow in the league anymore, right? And kind of the way it was with us and Sam Houston and what that looked like. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. I love to be challenged. I love an opportunity to force me to think differently, to act differently, to try to grow. And I think our coaches and our student athletes have really responded to that so far.
Yeah, if we look at it from all sports with basketball and everything else, as a fan, I'm excited for basketball. I'm excited for WAC Vegas, right, in March,
Yep.
and versus going to Katy. Like, that's just such a great sort of shift, especially getting to play basketball against New Mexico State, GCU. Cal Baptist got a great program. Utah Valley, it's got a great program. Like, I as a basketball fan, I'm excited about that. Now, but with football, where do you see, or just in your mind? I know right now we're waiting on teams. Like, I know Southern Utah is going to join, and I believe Rio Grande Valley is going to start a football program. But how else do you see the WAC expanding in football, or do you think, just from your view, they stay at a minimal number of teams at 6 or 7?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, obviously, with Southern Utah coming in, we'll have 7 with RGV. Again, with their plan to start football, depending on how that student referendum vote goes in November in 24, 25. I mean, that would get us to 8. And honestly, I think 8's a good number for us right now. I don't think we have to rush into anything moving forward. Obviously, it would be helpful for us here. We've got access to the AQ right now through the AQ7. Obviously, the ASUN is now got their 6 with Austin P and what that looks like. And so I think there's still some conversations to be had there with them about continuing that with that AQ7. Obviously, it wouldn't be 7 at that point in time, but figuring out what we could do to maybe still have access to that. But as Colby and I have talked, and others, I don't think we have to rush into something just to solve the AQ problem right now, because I think if we play well and Sam Houston plays well or Lamar plays well, whoever it is, if you're winning 8, 9, 10 games, whether you have an AQ or not, you're going to be in the playoffs. It's going to just be a pure math situation from an SRS standpoint, everything that we have moving forward. So you're going to have the opportunity to be an at-large team in, especially because at that point in time during the season, you're going to be ranked pretty high, so I don't think you're going to not be in. Obviously, it helps with the AQ knowing that you're in, but I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't get 2 and or 3 at large, even without an AQ moving forward, because I think our strength of schedule across the board and what our league is going to be able to do. And and the respect that we're going to have is going to be there, especially as we kind of maybe transition into this West region with only having the Big Sky and the Southland in the West region with us, right? And so I think that's going to create some opportunities there for us as well. So I say all that to say I do think the league is going to continue to look at expansion. I don't think we have to rush into it right now. Now, I think you look at everything going on around us, how we're going to be able to adjust and adapt to the rest of the nation and the rest of college athletics dealing with conference realignment. I think that might have to force us to do some things a little bit faster than we were wanting to. But I do think there are opportunities for us out there. I think it's more important for us to get it right than it is to just do it so that we have someone moving forward.
So you talked about Austin P, and it's a very smart move, I think, to join the ASUN. But also one of your other programs, Texas A&M Commerce, is moving up to Division I and joining the Southland. I think that's one of the best additions. I wish they would have joined the Southland when SFA was still in the Southland.
Mm-hmm.
But with that movement, we've also heard the rumors about McNeese wanting to leave the Southland. Do you think adding I would say a good program, or a great program like A&M Commerce would be enough to keep people from leaving the Southland and staying because of what they're trying to add in?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, and I certainly hate to speculate on another league right now. I think more than anything, you've got to figure out, all right, where do you want to be? Do you have the people around you to help you get there? And then can we figure out how to grow together, right? I think those are the biggest questions that you have to continue to ask yourself. And that's what we keep asking ourselves from a WAC standpoint as well, is where do we want to be? How do we get there? And who helps us get there? Right. And I think if you start asking those questions and you start having those in-depth conversations, and I think you can get to a point to where you look at it and say, all right, yes, McNeese. Yes, I think A&M Commerce being in the Southland helps us. It helps create some stability. I think we're okay here. Let's maybe hold off a little bit before we try to push an envelope. Or they may say, hey, no, this isn't. I don't know. I'm not down there with them. I've spent enough time in Lake Charles to kind of understand maybe a little bit where they're coming from a little bit. But, so I think for us, again, from a WAC standpoint, it's about asking those right questions. And if you do come, what value are you bringing to our league? Because we don't need just a warm body. That's not what we need. We need an institution that's going to bring value to us so that we can create opportunities for growth in a long-term aspect.
So one more question about Commerce. Are we going to get them on the schedule anytime soon? Because
maybe
a fun game.
Well, maybe. I've already talked to their AD quite a bit, and I think it'd be good for Colby to be able maybe to go do a home and home, and for Colby to go back up there as Colby and I talked about. If that's something that we get to do, then he gets to be in the home locker room, because I think that was the house that Carthel built while he was there. So, but no, there's no question. I think it'd be a great rivalry for us and a great opportunity for our fans there in DFW, and certainly their fans to come down to see our place as well. And, it used to be an old Lone Star rivalry matchup as well when it was East Texas State. And, I've heard several former players that we've had talk about, I believe it was 78 year, where they had a chance to win it, and they had to go up to Commerce and beat East Texas State, and they didn't get it done. And, so it's one of those things where I think there's some familiarity with everyone when it comes to A&M Commerce.
But they did get rid of the giant lion logo, right? Is that what
you're saying? They did. I was disappointed that happened. I told Tim that as well. Tim and I are decent friends, and so when we put our football field in here recently with as big a logo as we could get, the tertiary mark, I called him, took a picture, and I said, "Hey, my logo's bigger than yours," and so had some fun with it from that standpoint. And but no, that Lionhead logo gave us some exposure and some publicity that we didn't think was coming, but it was stretched from 25 to 25 and sideline to sideline, brother. It was a big logo.
It was pretty cool. I loved it. But speaking of the logo, I do love the new tertiary logo at our midfield. I think it looks great. The whole new turf, the whole way it's laid out, it looks awesome. pictures didn't do justice. Going in and going to see it when I was up there for a few weeks ago was awesome. I guess, I mean, the last thing, we got folks watching this who probably aren't familiar with SFA because we are new coming into the WAC. What would you tell, fans of like Utah Valley or fans of Dixie State or anybody who's watching this? What would you want to say about SFA athletics to them? What's going on.
I think we're very established department. I think across the board we expect excellence in just about every sport that we're competing in. We expect to win. We didn't come to the WAC hoping that we would win. We came in the WAC expecting to win. I think when you come to Nacogdoches, you're gonna meet a lot of people who are very friendly. They're very hospitable. They want to welcome you. They want to create an opportunity for you to enjoy the environment that you're in. Nacogdoches in itself is a quaint town. It's got some uniqueness to it that I think really creates an opportunity for people to kind of enjoy where we are being in East Texas. And I think, again, SFA has one of the best campuses that I've seen in a long time. And I've been to several campuses in my career, and I think it's one of the prettiest campuses that I've seen. I think our athletic facilities are good. They're not great, but they're good. And I think when you come to us, especially from a volleyball standpoint or a basketball standpoint, or even football, I mean, you're going to understand why we've been able to have success in those places, because our fan base is very knowledgeable about what's going on. They care about the Lumberjacks and the Lady Jacks quite a bit, and you're going to see them be there to support us across the board. And so I think those things are really important to people who maybe have never been here before. Again, I think, from a WAC perspective, I think we create opportunities now to help grow the league and to help grow the brand as well. And I think that to me was when we were having conversations about this was, all right, is this beneficial and mutually beneficial for everyone involved? Because if it's not, then it's not going to work. But for us, we really felt like this is an opportunity for us to help grow our brand. But at the same time, we felt like we helped elevated the WAC brand as well coming into it.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, I greatly appreciate your time. I know it's probably a busy week between Battle of Piney Woods and then having to go to Jacksonville for Jacksonville State, but I appreciate you taking the time to come on the Straight Outta WAC Pigskin podcast, which is a member of the FCS Fans Nation podcast network. If you like this question and answer, just remember to like and subscribe down at the bottom on YouTube, because that means we get to make more of these videos or these podcasts with more folks within the WAC. Ryan, once again, thanks a million for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. And as an alumni, I appreciate everything that you've done for our athletics program over the past few years.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Dustin. Appreciate all your support. Axum Jacks.
Axum Jacks. Thanks, everybody. Have a great